Opening day was probably the best day of my business.
But I just saw the opportunity to create a job for myself that tied in with what I was doing as an athlete.
Being brave and doing things that you don't know how to do, that's scare yourself every day, right? Is that the quote, do something you're afraid of?
My first piece of advice is to forget the fact that you're a woman. I don't think that that's an important thing as we consider it. And then the second is to find other women.
And trying things you don't know how to do until you do know how to do them.
But I wanted it bad enough, and making it happen is just clearly the best part of business.
If you have a goal, if there's something you want to do, then you just have to go for it. I'm Julie Hunter, and I'm a cycling coach. I wanted to start my own business because I tend to have a different way of thinking about things. And while I was in school studying exercise science, I was doing a lot of research on my own. And I was finding out that I didn't necessarily agree with how things have been, or how people have been training, how people have been coaching for the last 20 years. I sort of wanted to step out of the box and try something new based on the newer research that was out there. So I started with myself, coaching myself, and writing a training plan that was unique, and it worked for me. And then I started coaching other cyclists my age who weren't really getting any help from anyone, and I saw a need that I could help them and I could learn in the process. And I knew I was going to coach once I graduated, and it just really helped the learning process to work with individuals that needed help. And for me, I got a great learning experience out of it.
Come on, guys, get those knees up and through. When your legs start to get heavy, think about getting your knees up. Push, 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 push.
But I just saw the opportunity to create a job for myself that tied in with what I was doing as an athlete. Yeah, I've faced a lot of obstacles since I sort of graduated and launched my business. A lot of people
for it. And also, before even talking to people, just getting over that point where you might be afraid of what's out there. Because that is like a big hang-up, and that's probably why 90% of the people are still working desk jobs, is like there is this fear factor of not knowing what's going to happen. But I think if you really own what it is that you're able to do, and if that is unique and you are clearly capable of it, I mean, it will work out for you. So just get out there and do it.
I'm Diana Matthews, and I own Era Vintage, mid-century modern home furnishings and furniture. I've really just always been a collector of, personally for my home, and I kind of had a passion for finding pieces, and I was managing an art gallery for 7 years, and I was really interested in the fine craft aspect of that and the design of sculptural pieces, and that kind of within the gallery environment lost a little bit of the allure, and my mind wandered to other ventures that I had kind of been interested in the past, and interior design was also something that I had been interested in pursuing. So the experience that I got from the gallery combined with the expiration of those interests that got me to the gallery kind of tailored me to go more retail, but with a design element to it. It happened a lot quicker than I had anticipated. So I was, like I said, at the gallery for 7 years. Salary, benefits, security. It was a great job and great people, but I knew that things were kind of just getting stale for me. So I just started thinking about starting a business, knew that I couldn't just leave and do that on my own. So I started the business online while I was still working at the gallery, and it kind of picked up, and social media is primarily like my #1 outlet to get the word out, and it kind of grew and grew with the online shop. So I knew that it was time to leave work so I could focus more on the business. So I started looking at part-time jobs, and Leadberry, another startup business in Richmond, had an opportunity for part-time order fulfillment, which is basically just packing boxes. So it was about 4 hours a day during the day, fairly flexible, so I could go shop for more my inventory, add new products to the site, do whatever I needed to do. As Era grew out of that, it was time to transition. I needed a nighttime job, so I wait tables now to subsidize, what I can't support within the business and my personal life. My business is unique in that my inventory costs are generally very low. I can afford to be selective of how much I'm willing to pay for something, which is sort of offset. I can't just order my inventory from a wholesaler. I have to go physically look for it, so time and gas, and you could waste a whole day and not find one thing. But on the flip side, the actual cost of the physical inventory is really low. Just kind of having no debt going into it was important to me, so every penny that I made from each sale went back into the business. So I wasn't supporting myself with it, which is why I was working part-time in addition. So startup costs, the biggest cost was definitely the build out of the website, because I wanted a custom website that would reflect me as opposed to an Etsy shop or another online shop. And I really just started posting photos on Instagram, which you can link to Twitter and Facebook, so it hits everyone in kind of one swoop. Ask for help and just do it every day. Do exactly what you want to do for your business as much as you can every day. Even if you're at your other job for 8 or 9 or 10 hours a day, take a couple of hours to do your job that you want to do. For me, the end goal was to open a store and to maintain that. And that happened faster than I had anticipated. So I guess in the immediate future, expanding the physical space is a huge thing for me, because this building is wonderful, but it is too small. So that would be my next immediate goal. Eventually, being self-sustained financially so that I wouldn't have to work another job. Being a presence in Richmond is important to me, and I want that as a goal to grow. I want to be better, and I want to be bigger, and I want to be successful, more successful.
Sarah Milston. I'm the founder of the Spark Mill. The Spark Mill focuses on strategy, so it depends on who the client is as to what we actually do, but for a nonprofit, that could be strategic planning or strategic marketing or fundraising services. For a small or emerging business, that could be helping them make a big change, bring on a new partner, add a new business unit. So it really depends on who we're seeing as to what we do, but it all comes back to strategy. So I spent 10 years as a fundraiser in nonprofits, working to raise money, but also working with boards and working on my own strategic plans. And so I made the decision after the birth of my first daughter that I would move into consulting, because it gave me more flexibility with my schedule and more time to maintain a work-life balance. I went to a conference last year called Tilted, which is a small business conference, and I was actually giving a talk on how you can embrace someone else's idea and get passionate about it. And while I was speaking, I realized that I didn't want to be passionate about his idea anymore, that I wanted to be passionate about my own idea. And so that's when I made the decision to launch a new business that I expected to stay around. But I think I always expected that I would be involved in saving the world, but I really thought that that meant that I was going to work for a nonprofit. And so that's why I spent my early career there. But what I realized with consulting is that I get to save the world for like tons of different kinds of clients. I think I have business coming in from two directions. One is word of mouth. Now that I've been consulting for 5 years now, lots of people know that I do this work. I have, probably about 100 different clients in the area that I've worked with over the last 5 years. So people know who I am and know what I do. The other part of my business, I think, comes from teaching. I teach on issues relating to nonprofits. And so even if I'm teaching a class on social media, oftentimes those turn into strategic planning clients. Right now, I am totally satisfied with the Spark Mill being myself, and then key partners. So I partner with other experts around the area. I think you all are hearing from Campfire & Co., a local graphic design firm, an interior design firm. I partner with them to do projects for my clients. I partner with assessors and other vendors, people that have expertise in areas that I don't. And for now, I'm totally fine with the Spark Mill being that size. My first piece of advice is to forget the fact that you're a woman. I don't think that that's an important thing as we consider it. And then the second is to find other women to talk to people. We founded a group in Richmond called the Women's Social Good Network, which is a networking group for women that work for and with nonprofits. So it's for consultants and employees of nonprofits. And we just get together and talk. And that is a really useful place to bounce ideas, to say I'm having a problem. It feels like a safe place because it's a non-competitive space. And so just to find a mentor or a person that you admire, even if they're in a different field, and just start bouncing ideas and questions and thoughts off of them. But at the end of the day, it's not important that you're a woman. It's important that you have this awesome idea and you should just chase it.
Latte for here. I'm Jennifer Rawlings. I'm the roast master and co-owner of the Lamplighter Roasting Company. I have been self-employed as a coffee roaster for 15 years, on and off. I studied philosophy in college, so I spent a lot of time in coffee shops. And then I guess, about my junior year, I started writing a business plan as a class project. And it became my first business plan that I got a loan for. Since high school, since my first job, I had thought about owning my own coffee shop because I was into coffee. It was the place that was the safe spot for us to hang out as young kids. No alcohol being sold in a cafe. It was a good environment, and so that was kind of where I always gravitated towards. And then studying in college, that's where I spent all of my time studying with friends and gathering with people, so it's kind of natural. Here locally in Richmond, there was the one roaster I knew. I used to sit around and watch him roast coffee down in Shockoe Bottom at Shockoe Espresso. And so eventually I befriended him and started asking questions about roasting coffee and then doing my own reading and research. And then by the time he and I, a year had gone by of me hanging out and bothering him, I started paying him $20 to let me roast coffee on his nighttime shift after the cafe would close. So he was kind of my first instructor. And then later on I sought out a master roaster and trained with them and then started taking classes. My first business was called the Frisky Goat, and it was actually a cafe. But I had an investor that first time around. So basically I wrote a business plan and a bank loaned me money. And this is back in the early 90s or mid 90s when banks were giving out a lot of money and grants to women-owned business. A lot of those programs have been cut lately, but back then it was really easy to get grant money. I think all in all I got $2,500 in grants the first year, and then every year after I had that cafe open, which really was helpful first time around. And then the other third of the money I raised was through the investor, the original investor, who basically owned a building and let me rent that space from him. This is my third cafe that I've owned. But it's the first time I've had partners who work as hard as I do. And it's really been just the biggest piece that was missing before, I think, in succeeding, was just having the right partnership, having someone we could trust and really get along with and share a vision and work as hard as each other. I think that's the critical thing that was missing in my career before. Location and patience, and not being tied into one idea or one location specifically, but being open to what the universe can bring to you, I think is really, really critical. And I found my partners 3 years before we opened the space, because we had designs on one place and then that fell through, and we had designs on another place, and it just kind of, we had to be very patient and had to stick together and stick to our guns, and that patience really paid off. We found the right space, the right landlord, the right timing, the right neighborhood, and I think all of those things combined really helped with our success. And we continued to work our other jobs, our restaurant jobs. In fact, my other skill is carpentry, and so I was building with my brother up until, 4 months in, I was still working, doing carpentry. And so that's the other thing, mistake people make, is they're just in a hurry to get to their dream, and so they'll quit their other job before it's actually supporting them. But we maintained, and everybody worked until we couldn't work anymore, and then we made the crossover to just full-time coffee. So we drew really heavily on our social capital, and that being said, we're very involved in our communities. My partners have their bike club, which drew in hundreds, if not thousands, of people. I had a pre-existing roasting business where I was roasting coffee and dropping it off residentially. So we kind of drew from our past experiences and our involvements in our community, and that really, friends and family filled the place pretty immediately, and it just grew from there. We do use social media now pretty heavily every day. That wasn't the case in the beginning because it was kind of new to us, but that is the only advertising other than our fabulous product that we use is social media, and it's worked very, very well for us. I'm the only female coffee roaster I know, and I've traveled all over the world looking, in my travels looking for the other female roaster, and it's a privilege and an honor to be, the girl in the boys club, But I think really it's advice for men and women across the board in business, but being brave and doing things that you don't know how to do, that's scare yourself every day, right? Is that the quote, do something you're afraid of? that's a really big part of business, I think, is just being brave and stepping forward and trying things you don't know how to do until you do know how to do them, you know, and seeking out people who've done them before, learning from others' mistakes, like just being insatiable with everything you do, you know, whether it's mastering your craft or, you know, finding out things you don't know. I mean, just find them. Find the people who can tell you, who've done them before. I've had many mentors that have really taken me far and above where I would have been on my own in business, just learning. And it's not even the same business, most of them, but just learning their mentality has been, you know, really, really helpful. Our goals, I mean, for the business are basically our same goals personally, which is just growing every day. You know, that's really intrinsic, I think, to succeeding in what you do in growing your business is that you personally are growing every day, that you're doing something new, that you're meeting new people, that your reach is expanding beyond what it was today. I think that's what keeps life interesting. That's what keeps, you know, your romance alive with what you do, is that it's different all the time. It's different every day. I've been doing this for a long time, and it's so satisfying because it's different every day, you know, because of the people that come and go and the experiences. I mean, you just have to be open and, you know, learning, always learning.
Hi, my name is Valerie Lowry, and we make maple syrup with Back Creek Farms Pure Maple Syrup in Highland County, Virginia. The name of our syrup is Back Creek Farms with an S, and the reason it's plural is because when Pat was a child, he remembers when every little farm all up and down this valley would make maple syrup in the spring. And so there would be this layer of steam down the valley and from everybody boiling at the same time. And now we're the only people left on Back Creek who are doing this process the traditional way. And so, but we still collect sugar water from some of those other old farms. So we use a lot of the farms in the area to make our syrup. Yeah, Pat started making syrup with his dad. Well, it's been a family tradition for generations, and mainly because in Highland County, I mean, this is obviously a very remote place, and they actually walked across that mountain over there to go to the grocery store. So anything they didn't have to carry back was a good thing. If they could make all their own sugar, they did that. We've been married since 2001, and actually we started making syrup. There's an old sugar house down behind our house, and we started down there, and then we were able to purchase this land, which actually has a bigger sugar, it's called a sugar bush, where there's a group of maple sugar trees. So we were able to purchase this, and it just made sense to move our operation up here, and we were able to build a more modern sugar house, which actually has electricity, which is really wonderful, and running water, and so it's much nicer than our old sugar house was. I was a landscape architect, and I worked for the Navy for years, which is how I ended up spending some time in Japan, and had no idea, and then ended up moving to Highland County. And when I met Pat and we started making maple syrup together, it was like, this is fantastic. Since Highland County is rural, there aren't a lot of job opportunities. It seems like everybody here has at least 2 or 3 different sources of income. So maple syrup is one of ours, but another one is, since we had this beautiful piece of land, we're also using it as a guest cabin. So we have a cabin that we rent to tourists, and now people come especially during maple season so that they can watch us do the process too. We didn't start out like where we are today. It's been a growing process over the last, it's been 14 years now that we've been working on building the business. We're really fortunate that Highland County has a maple festival, since we're the only county in the state of Virginia where it's possible to make maple syrup. And so they started this Maple Festival, which is also an arts and crafts festival. It's become very, very popular over the years. And so we sell a lot of syrup there. Our business has just kind of grown by word of mouth and by people tasting it and saying, hey, you know, we'd like to carry your syrup. So now we do some wholesale business too. We used to just do retail, but now we've grown enough that we can do wholesale business also. The important thing is loving what you do. And if it's not something that you really enjoy doing, you're not going to want to do it every day. Like making maple syrup is really hard work. It's very labor intensive, but if you enjoy doing it, and part of the joy of making syrup is like giving people a taste of the final product and seeing the smiles on their faces. And so things like that are very important in that gratification. The light amber will be like the first run or two, which is basically the first day or two of boiling. And then after that,
I think I found the one I like.
we're not done yet.
Hi, my name is Courtney Cotton, and I'm starting a media business called Violet Bee Media with my friend. Hi. Kate Hoof.
That would be me. So we decided to do this after interviewing all the women about starting their own businesses, and it just occurred to us, since Courtney does photography and I shoot video, that we should start our own business, because after talking to the women, the question became, well, why wouldn't you? And so we're going to start this year, and we're going to see how it goes. So we'll let you know.